So back a few years ago, probably a decade ago, the IRS was getting in trouble for spending egregious amounts on trainings. I think they spent millions on some sort of a training video and then flew some of the higher uppers out to some fancy area that was kind of unnecessary for some sort of training. So I wanted to share kind of what my training experience was like. Personally, I thought it was very normal and excellent. It's the best training I've ever received. I learned a lot. It was a lot of information in a very short time. I do learn a lot better hands-on, but I thought it was definitely very good. So I started as a CSR, customer service representative, in the call center back in 2009 or something like that. And I had a intensive month of training on the computer system. It was only a couple days or a week of how to use the phones, how to do customer service and be polite to people and what the procedures were. But it was very intensive on how to use the system. I picked that stuff up. It's DOS. The IRS is old school. And I don't think they've changed since I left. But you have to actually either manually type in the code, or there is some systems that were linked where you can push a button and it automatically puts the code in for you. I was faster at typing it in, just memorize all the codes and stuff. But it's basically like you're a programmer. You type in the code, push enter, and it brings up the things you need. I thought that training was amazing. I was really good at the job because they taught it to me very well. Fast forward a year, and I was now a revenue agent, and they sent a couple hundred of us, mostly from the western half of the U.S., over to Anaheim for in-person training. This was one of the last in-person training groups before the hiring freeze, before all the budget cuts, before the continuing resolutions that ended up going for years. So we got to have 2.5 months in Anaheim, right down the street from Disneyland. It was amazing. It was 5 days a week for 7 to 8 hours a day. We sat in a classroom. We learned about basic things, our laptops, how to connect it to the hotspot. We all got a little hotspot so we could connect to the internet when we were out in the field. You're not supposed to connect to taxpayers, wireless hacking, no issues, security stuff. But we learned security, different procedures, what to do in certain dangerous situations that could arise. But mostly we learned tax law. It was all 1040 stuff, individual income tax, a lot of business stuff. I was very weak on the tax knowledge at that point, so this was all very helpful. We had to take tests. If it wasn't every week, it was every other week. You had to pass a certain number of tests in order to pass the training. And then when you got back to your POD, which is your office, then you got to have on-the-job trainer, OJI, on-the-job instructor, and he or she would kind of walk you through every single thing and hold your hand. They would review all your work, go out with you on some, if not all, of your appointments, make sure you were comfortable, you could interview the people. They would review you, give you feedback. It was incredibly helpful. It was the only way I was able to succeed and learn. The manager was also very hands-on at that time. A lot of them like to be kind of hands-off, but she was amazing. She sat in on my very first audit ever because my OJI was with one of his other trainees. So I felt very valued and helped. I felt like they really wanted me to succeed, and so it was great. There was 2 more trainings after that where we had to go to a location. I went to Denver and then Seattle, were close to where I was based, so I just had to drive. I didn't get to fly and stay in a hotel for that one. And that was for C corporation training, and then flow-throughs, which is S corporations and partnerships. And that was a year later, and then 6 months after that. Same thing, Every day you just go to a classroom and learn. You get to meet all your coworkers. I made some lifelong friends through that process. I would message them on the internal system, asking them questions. We were all going through the same experience. We all bonded. There's hundreds of us, and I have a very large network now that I could still reach out to and ask questions, because we all experienced the same things. We all trusted each other. We all liked each other. We were all put in a very weird situation in an organization that a lot of people don't like. And so I feel like we all bonded a little bit because of that. We highly respected each other and the work ethic and what we were doing. And so we were all very willing to help each other. And I think that helped everyone succeed. So that was my experience with training with the Internal Revenue.